Last weekend, I read this book and I want to tell you what you're going to find inside. I highly recommend it. And at the end of this video, I'm going to show you how to save thousands of dollars and where to get this book. So this is probably one of the OG books that has gotten the most people. This was written back in the 80s by a gentleman named Lonnie Scruggs, who's since passed away, is the godfather of mobile home investing. And I imagine that this book has gotten the most amount of people into mobile home investing over the years. I did not realize that this book existed until many years after I got started mobile home investing. And it's written in like a diary, kind of like you're talking to Lonnie at a bar and hanging out, and he's telling you the woes and good and bad, and like just, really sort of talking to you one-on-one, not exactly proper. It's a good book. It's a must read in the mobile home business. I'd like to sort of go over the book right now, and then at the end I'll show you where you can get it for the best price. But I like to kind of divide this up into about 6 different topics of what is talked about in the book. And the book is, at least this one, is over 266 pages. So there's a lot of content. And again, I highly recommend getting it. There's a lot the book leaves out because you can only talk about so much in a book like this, and no course in general or no book in general is going to tell you exactly everything to do. There's too many different scenarios. We talk to emotional people that have different homes in different locations, different times of the year, that need different repairs and different wants and needs. So as good as the book is, which it does give a lot of nuggets, to learn from. And so we're going to talk about a lot of those nuggets, but there's a lot still left in the book. So again, I highly recommend that you get it. First, Lonnie talks about learning success. And he talks about number 1 right here. Lonnie says to get educated first. Seriously, you're not just going to have one question in this business. You're going to have question after question after question. And lack of knowledge can be very expensive. It can, because you're either learning by doing things on your own and making mistakes, or by learning from others who've made those mistakes, and you don't have to financially get hit. You can just listen and learn, or have a mentor or something. So learn from the people doing it. Lonnie Deals, you might have heard that, Lonnie Deals, which is pretty cool to have a deal named after yourself in the mobile home space. Lonnie Deals are buying a slight fixer-upper under $10,000. This book was written back in the 80s. But nowadays we're still buying a majority under $10,000. You can spend more, but don't, basically, if you're an investor, unless you really want to. And unless you're going to resell it for at least doubling your money if you sell it for cash. But normally, most parts of the country, anyway, you can still do this. Buying a slight fixer-upper under $10,000, do little to no work, and sell on payments for at least double. And Lonnie was big on selling on payments, which is great. I mean, cash flow is wonderful. Cash flow is king, or cash is king, but cash flow is the next best thing. Number 3, Lonnie talks about a 10-10-10 formula for success. That's buy 10% below retail value, sell to a buyer that has 10% down from a payment buyer, because Lonnie talks almost all about selling on payments, and then sell with 10% interest, which if you think about it is not very difficult or mind-boggling. Buy slightly under retail and then sell it for a large markup. Because you're taking payments, you can buy a home. If retail is $10,000 in this situation, you're buying it under $10,000 for $9,000. Well, you can sell it for double, which is 20, with payments. Because you're holding payments, that's a huge value add that you are adding as the investor. So even with little to no experience or training, how difficult is that, buying a home 10% under retail? So Lonnie talks about a very realistic type of strategy here. My formula, John's formula, I have 2 of them. Well, I have a few of them, but the main 2, if you're selling for cash or selling on payments. If you're selling for cash, buy 60% below retail. You're not going to do 100 deals a year. The deals you do, make sure they're excellent. Buy well below retail, so even you can sell quickly because you bought so low, you can even sell at a good deal and sell quickly, and then sell for 100% cash. It's been a great time to sell for cash the last 9 years at the time of making this video. If you are going to be selling on payments, then my formula is this 60-10-10-60 formula number here. Buy 60% below retail, that's the same, and then sell with 10% down. Totally agree with Lonnie. Sell at 10% interest, give or take, when you sell a mobile home. And then 60 months of payments. You are collecting 5 years worth of payments minimum from your payment buyer. If you're in a park, it should be 5 to 10 years that payments that you're collecting from a payment buyer. If it's attached to land, 15 to 20 or 30 years of payments. If you're selling the home and the land together, yeah, that's like a 30-year payment plan, in my opinion, which should be like a good retirement plan. You're collecting, it's like a house. You're selling a home for 30 years, so, and the land. After talking about learning success, Lonnie talks about finding the best deals, which obviously that's super important. Lonnie says that the best homes are used. I agree with that. 3-2s. Lonnie is kind of opposed to doing 2 bedrooms, which I am not opposed to doing 2 bedrooms. Because 2 bedrooms are so popular and common. Like most mobile homes in existence are 2 bedrooms. There's a lot of 3 bedrooms and some 4s and occasionally a 5 bedroom and a bunch of 1 bedrooms. But yeah, 1 bedrooms are okay. 2 bedrooms are great. 3 bedrooms are great. 4. But Lonnie says stick to 3-2s, 10 to 20 years old, or that's it, like 10 to 20 years or newer. 12 to 14 feet wide. Modern day mobile homes ever since the 80s are mostly 14 feet wide. Only from the 70s and 60s do they get like 10 feet and 12 feet wide, which you can tell. If you're in a 12 foot or 10 foot wide home or 8 foot wide home, each of those is very noticeable. And then you get into like a 16 foot single wide, you're like, wow, it doesn't seem like a lot of space that's different, the 2 feet, but when you're in it, you can really feel it. Lonnie says to stick with homes 60 to 70 feet long. Meh. I mean, you get what you, I mean, if there's a good deal that the home's 50 feet long, yeah, that's short and stubby, but it's still, you're buying it for the right price. So I don't totally agree with that. And then he said, stay away from double wides, which I don't understand exactly why. I'm not a fan of moving double wides if you're going to keep the home. That's why the FHA, that's why VA, that's why the government doesn't back loans when they're moved twice from the factory if it's a double wide, because the government doesn't like double wides if they're moved more than once, which I'm that way as well. I don't want to move a double wide and keep it. I will wholesale a double wide if it has to be moved. But Lonnie says stay away from them entirely. I don't agree with that. Stay away from homes built in the 60s. I don't agree with that either. I just picked up a home and it was like 68, and it's a good home. So you can get homes that are in the 60s that are better in condition than like ones in the 2000s, depending on how people take care of it and their pride of ownership. Lonnie also says that the best deals come from park managers and are park owned. Lonnie's big on paying referral fees to managers, which I am too. Like managers are the gatekeeper to the park, and I think that the majority of your deals won't come from park managers, but even if 20, 30, 40% of your deals do come from park managers, that's still like a big chunk of the pie. So yeah, park managers are great and you should befriend almost all of them. Lonnie promotes always be networking, talking to park residents, which is true. As you're driving through parks, you should be talking to the residents. Talk to mobile home movers is what Lonnie says as well. Always be talking to park managers and even knock on doors, which the parks usually don't like you soliciting and knocking on doors, but anybody walking around in the park, pull over and talk to them. It would be weird if you started talking to people in like a subdivision with houses, but in a mobile home park, that's not weird. Pull over the car, ask, hey, do you like this neighborhood? Is this a safe neighborhood? I like that we're so close to the grocery store, or it's in the country. I like it's so peaceful, or we're right by Target. And then Lonnie says this, knock on doors, and then say, someone told me that there was a home for sale on this street. And I agree with that. I mean, you could say a few other versions of that, like, I heard that somebody was getting evicted in this park. Do you know who it is? Because people in the park, they know what's going on. They know who's in trouble. They know who's behind on their payments. They know who's getting evicted. They know who lost their job. They know who's on drugs. They know who's selling drugs. They know who's cheating on their spouse. People in the park know what's going on. So do talk to them. Lonnie also talks about knowing what you can resell the mobile homes for in each park, which is important. You need to know what you can resell homes for before you ever make an offer to buy one. You have to know what you're going to sell it for realistically, cash or payments or wholesale. You need to know your exit strategy realistically before you even make any offers. Lonnie then talks about in the book about due diligence and buying the mobile home, which that is like, the chronological order of things. Inspections. Lonnie's big when you're doing the inspection of a home. He's big on blue jeans and a pickup. That good old boy mentality. And that comes through in the writing, which is very nice that, Lonnie's not exactly proper or, what's the word, like politically correct. Like the book is, again, you're like talking to the guy, or the guy's talking to you in a very down to earth, good old boy is kind of the thing. So blue jeans and a pickup is what he suggests. Always check, which I agree, and then some, but Lonnie suggests always check the plumbing of the mobile home. Turn it on. Go through the property. Turn on everything. Flush the toilets. Don't be embarrassed. Do that. Turn on the shower. don't get in the shower, but turn on the shower, flush the toilets, turn on the water, go underneath, don't go underneath the home, look underneath the home to see if there's any water falling down. And then check the ceilings, check the windows, appliances. Don't be afraid to do that. Electrical. I suggest in other videos to bring in an outlet tester to let you know which outlets are working better than others. Be aware of aluminum wiring, Lonnie says, and I suggest be aware of the polybutylene or gray pipes that aren't toxic, but they do break a lot more often, and people don't like them. But if it's not broke, don't fix it. But be aware of gray pipe that you can negotiate on all of this stuff that I just mentioned and any other issues with the home. I'm surprised he really doesn't talk about the floors, because soft spots in floors and underneath windows where the ACs are, window ACs, or people that leave the window open, that's so common. So I will add, walk the perimeter of the home and every square foot, like step on it. If you don't weigh that much, bounce on it a little bit. If you can bounce, if it's springy or crumbling, that's not good. But I mean, it's still, we want to buy the home probably, but you're going to have to fix it, or at least disclose it when you do sell it that you didn't fix it or that it's still the problem. But anyway, be aware of all that stuff. None of it's a deal breaker, in my opinion. None of it. Walk through with a partner. Lonnie doesn't say that you have to walk through with a partner, but I do think that this is kind of cool. He talks about walking through with a partner, which he usually does with his wife, and he talks about his old dog, Toots. And this is called the squirrel dog technique, where he would be walking through the home, talking to the seller about different, things about the home and inspecting the different properties. His wife would go off in a different direction and say, Lonnie, come here, did you see this? And then he would go to that room wherever there was a problem, and she would point it out, and then she would go somewhere else. It's like, Lonnie, come here, did you see this? And so it's just a way of pointing things out that you see the problem, but you're not gonna, embarrass the seller, like, how do you live like this, or anything like that. I just suggest bring it up, like, what's going on here? What's going on here? Did you fix this? Has this always been like this? When did this leak happen? You don't have to make people feel embarrassed, just, matter-of-factly, what's going on? Lonnie's favorite question, which is good. Lonnie's favorite says, look, if I can pay cash right now, I don't think he really talks like that, but look, if I can pay cash right now, what is the absolute best cash price you can sell your home for? Which, yeah, that's kind of not industry standard, but in real estate, like to ask 2 or 3 different times, what is the best price that you can give? What's the lowest price? What's the lowest fair price? Without you losing sleep at night or jumping off a bridge, what's the bottom number that you will sell if I can buy the home today? And so that is a question that we want to ask tactfully a couple times within the negotiation process. And then Lonnie says to perform due diligence on titles. I added location, the park manager, and the park, like park approval process, the park in general, what else is for sale. But I would say to do this first or before you make any offers. Don't make offers without knowing all of the due diligence, because once the offers start, negotiation happens fast. So you don't want to make an offer, they counter you, and you're like, okay, well, let me do some more due diligence and let me hold off and let me, test what I can sell it for. Let me do all my due diligence. So long story short, yeah, do the due diligence before you ever make a purchase offer on the home. Lonnie then talks about home repairs after you've closed on the home, which isn't talked too much about closing, but Lonnie talks about, home repairs. And there's a lot of good advice that Lonnie gives on repairs, but it's very obvious that Lonnie prefers to sell as is. Lonnie prefers to sell with the home needing some repairs, and Lonnie says to disclose everything, obviously. The person you want coming in the home, they should know what repairs are done. And I totally agree. If you're selling on payments, there is a lot of value to selling the home as is, because you have a buyer that's handy. They know that they have to do the repairs now and the repairs into the future, and you're getting someone that, again, is handy. And plus they bond with the property. They get into the property, they can fix it up some, they're more attached to it. And we usually don't get as much down, like you're not getting 50% down, you're only getting 5, 10, 20% down ideally. So keep them, like every dime that you spend on the property, you have to make that back before you make profit. So if you can sell it with repairs and you don't have to spend an extra 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 grand, great. You can sell it at a discount. You can take a lower move-in amount. You can profit that much quicker, because I want you to make profit in 12 months or less, but usually less. Like you should be making profit if you sell on payments. If you sell for cash, that's different. I'll continue here with the bullet points, and then I'll add a few of my own comments. Lonnie says that I recommend doing little or no fix-up and selling in as-is condition. It's much better to let the buyer do the work, and it's much less expensive too. And I agree, when you're selling on payments, that is true. Although you can use a handyman, believe it or not, which I've made separate videos on, like how to vet them, what are the deal breaker questions, do's and don'ts. But when you're selling for cash, do work that you will get repaid for. Like if you put $1 into the home, you should make $2 or $3 or $4 on that repair. Yeah, some repairs don't matter and upgrades don't usually matter. But if something's broken or ugly, or you can sell a home quicker and easier and have people more attached to it and like fighting over it if it looks better, if it's emotionally, people go in and have that wow effect. So even paint job and cleaning up things can really make a big difference. However, in most cases, yeah, don't fix them if it's not broken. Lonnie says if you do make repairs, number 3, if you do make repairs, Lonnie gives very financially smart and prudent ideas to fix toilets, bathtubs, shower stalls, faucets, ceilings, vinyl flooring, and carpet, and they're all in here. I'm not going to go over them, but he gives very good, smart advice on fixing that and not band-aiding anything, but saving money and doing it the right way. And number 4, Lonnie says, I come out much better by selling to a buyer in as-is condition, even at a lower price. I can use the time I would have been fixing up homes to look for another deal. And whether you're fixing a home or not, well, your best time is not fixing it yourself. Your best time is looking for more deals, negotiating, attracting more sellers, making offers, due diligence, as an investor by far. Selling a mobile home. We're on the 5th topic of the book, in my opinion. Selling the mobile home. This is what I say. I say from 2002 to 2015, we mostly sold mobile homes on payments. It was tough to sell for cash. Ever since 2015, we have been selling mostly for cash. Now, you can still sell on payments, of course. At the point that I'm recording this video, it is still an amazing time to sell for cash. Prices have come down slightly in many areas since like 2022, but it's still a great time to sell for cash or bank financing. Depending on the home, there's a lot of bank loan products out there to sell the home with a bank loan. But normally we're selling for cash. The choice is yours, though, how you want to... the choice is yours depending sort of on how you buy the home. If you're too much into the property, then you can sell on payments. Because if you sell for cash, let's say for 20 grand, on payments, you're going to sell for 40 or 50 grand. So just by selling on payments, if you're willing to wait for the money, it allows you to double the price of what you're going to sell the home for. But my advice is get the cash while you can. That's my advice. Use that money to invest in deals with land, mobile homes with land, mobile home parks. But yeah, keep stacking that money and sell for cash. Although there are mobile homes that you would want to keep versus other homes you would not want to keep. Number 2, Lonnie teaches to resell mobile homes on payments. We talked about that in the 10-10-10 method. Sell for at least double what you're into the home for. He says that on payments. I think that you should be doing like quadruple. If you're into the home for 10 and you sell on payments, you should be getting like 40 grand or 30 grand when all's said and done. If you're selling for cash, then yeah, at least double your money. But Lonnie says to sell for at least double of what you're into the home when you're selling on payments. Create a note. And Lonnie does talk about selling the note or a partial note if you need to raise capital, which I thought was pretty cool because that's true. Although the people buying mobile home notes in parks are not just, everywhere. You have to find them out. But yeah, selling notes can help you raise more capital. I say when selling for cash, aim to double your money minimum. If you're selling via payments, aim to make all your money back in 12 months or less. You get a down payment, you get monthly payments. You should break even with what you have into the deal quick. After 1 month, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 12 months max, you broke even and you sold for at least 5 years of payments, not this many, but up to this many. So 5 up to 10 years in parks for cash flow with a minimum of $300. Nowadays, it's more like $400 minimum, but $300 is minimum, in my opinion, for cash flow. Unless there's some debt service, you bought the home with payments from the seller, you're making the seller payments, then maybe you're making less than $300 minimum. But if you paid cash for the home, then yeah, you should be making $300 minimum cash flow, or else it's a skinny deal. I mean, don't do that. Like, you can make more. Don't just do skinny deals, is my advice right now. When taking payments, Lonnie talks about joining a credit bureau for a background check, which is cool because some of the times in this book, you're like, wait, when did this happen? And then you have to think like, oh, this was written back in the 80s. And so back then, yeah, you need to join a credit bureau to do background checks. Nowadays, we have the access to third-party companies that will do background checks for us, credit checks, eviction checks, sexual predators, criminal. Plus, that doesn't mean that you shouldn't be calling landlords to hear how the person is, especially if you're selling a home. You wouldn't just sell your car on payments and just trust the person. You want to know like everything about them. and they should be able to provide things for you without being snotty or like confrontational. Because you selling something on payments is like a needle in a haystack opportunity most of the times. People don't have to go through banks; they can pay you, and you have to work with people with the down payment, with the monthly payments. We want to be fair to people. Also verifying income and more. Social media. If you're selling for cash, then doesn't really matter. As long as the park approves them, then, and they have the cash, take the cash, they're approved, boom. But if you're selling on payments, be super, 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 super thorough. Period. I mean, better to be super thorough than not. Management. I agree with everything Lonnie says here, and he talks and he teaches how to sell mostly on payments. When you are selling via payments to the right buyer and to a low risk buyer, your management should be very, very, very minimal. Because you're dealing with somebody that wants to get you out of the picture. They understand what they're buying. They're an adult. They are ready to buy something. There's a very few times in people's lives when they're actually ready to commit and buy something. They have responsibilities. They're going to settle down. They're going to stay somewhere for 5-10 years and continue to pay until they pay you off, and they want to get you out of the picture. So you don't have to fix toilets. You don't have to make repairs. The person inside is responsible for all that. On page 142, Lonnie says, explain to your tenant buyer that the reason you are able to offer them a chance to buy that home for the same amount they would be paying in rent is because you can't afford to be bothered with troubled calls or pay for any repairs. And also, if you should have to make any repairs or spend any money on the home during the term of the option, it will be added to the purchase price. This cuts down most of the common tenant complaints and troubled calls, which the person buying it should know well in advance that they shouldn't call you for any repairs. But if there is a big repair, the hot water heater goes out, there's something wrong with the roof and there's leaks coming in. If there's any water coming in, I would rather the tenant buyer talk to me. Bad news is better than no news at all. So if there is bad news and there's a repair that they can't afford, then yes, I as the investor will step up so we can fix that. But usually, if we're spending $500 to fix something, that's going right onto their note. And I wouldn't say it's going to the back of the note. Try to get that money sooner than later. So if it's $500 that was the repair, add an extra $100 for the next 5 months. Get that money, recoup it sooner than later. And you're still doing them a big favor, in my opinion. Number 3 and 4, Lonnie says go to court if needed, obviously, which I won't talk about on this video, but if you're selling a mobile home, you may need to foreclose versus evict, depending on your paperwork, which is a whole nother topic and a whole nother video. And then number 4, Lonnie says, take the home back and then resell it. I hope the video was helpful. I do want to show you where to get this at the cheapest price that you can. You can go on Amazon, and for the low price of $3,387.88 for some reason this guy is selling it for. You can buy Deals on Wheels, paperback edition. Wow, what a great, amazing deal. You can also go on, I can't imagine, it's got 13 reviews. How many people are buying it at that price? And then there's another link here. You can buy it for $280. And these are both used copies because they're not making this book any longer. But the best place to get the book and to get a lot of other awesome information is a website called Cash Flow Depot, which Cash Flow Depot is a place where a lot of is hosted by a woman named Jackie Lang, who's wonderful and is an amazing investor in her own right. And she has a lot of old school people that taught me, and then I've been fortunate to meet many of them and be with many of them and hang out with many of them, and but like old school investors. And so you can, once you join, I think then you can buy the book, but you're definitely not going to pay hundreds of dollars for the book once you join. You do have to spend like a couple $100 to join Cash Flow Depot, but you get a lot of like videos and like old school stuff, old school videos, different books that have been put out. I will say most of the stuff is a little bit older, but who cares? Like, this is an industry, real estate in general. It doesn't have to be the latest, greatest stuff. Some of the stuff written back in the 80s, 90s, 2000s, well, it is the 2000s now, but even the 80s, 90s, and 70s is amazing stuff by super, super quality investors and teachers. And that's what Cash Flow Depot is all about. So I highly recommend Cash Flow Depot. I don't know what the book costs when you do join. I assume you have to buy it once you join. I don't know how much that is, but it's certainly less than $3,000 or 280 from that other Amazon link. So I hope the video was helpful. If you have any other questions or concerns, never hesitate to reach out to me at john@mobilehomeinvesting.net, or to learn more about mobile home flipping. There's a lot of videos, there's a lot of content, a lot of how-to instructional stuff on mobilehomeinvesting.net. If you have any questions, leave them below. I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.